Okay, that's all set up. We already have some tracks shared with me. One, two, three tracks over here. So as you guys know, today is going to be feedback, and we're just going to listen to those tracks and enjoy ourselves and give some feedback on how those tracks can be improved. For anybody that is unfamiliar with the concept, exclamation point feedback will give you all of the information that you need to know in order to submit your track. I've also cleared up the rules a bit. I just rewrote this part here. As a precaution, any remix, bootleg, or edit will not be played. This used to say that no remix, edit, and bootleg will be played if this was met. But that meant that if you had a remix that you fully owned the copyright to, it would still be allowed to play. And I'm not gonna do that anymore, because I had like one person that was like arguing, not really arguing, but they said like, oh, well, no, I do own the copyright, whatever. Doesn't really matter, but either way, I just don't want to accept any remixes and that kind of stuff. So that's not gonna happen anymore. Ninks, how are you doing? I did read your pronunciation, so thank you for that. It's really helpful that I get pronunciation lessons now with your names. And yes, we will be starting with your track, Ninks, because you are a patron. So that means that we go 1, 2, 3 for these tracks. Berghain has opened. I don't know what you mean, build your dreams, but welcome to the stream. Yeah, I don't know what that means. I'm just gonna wait a few more seconds for people to join. I do already see the number go up, so we'll start very, very soon. Yeah, no worries. Yeah, I'm kind of known for mispronunciation, so you are destroying my brand by teaching me. Anyway, let's start. I guess there's already a few people here, so we can get started. This is Wait Here by Ninks. Tried something new, but sort of forced, I guess. No baseline export as usual with unfinished projects. All right. Very metallic, high frequency intro stuff happening. Personally, I like it if there's some stability in there as well, like maybe some lower pads, stuff like that. Bassline, as they said, still not exported, but tonally it's sounding nice. I like the kick and bass so far. Is it really, like, it's not even that bad on the kick, it's just the bass notes bleeding into each other. How's the new studio? Studio is doing great. I'll talk about that after the track. I want to focus on the feedback for now. Any idea how to make that long FM sequence a bit more interesting? Probably glitching it up. I would go for that maybe. It's either that or using multiple elements, like multiple parts of, or multiple different sound design ideas, and then not playing the FM sequence throughout the whole thing, but just parts of it, right? Overall, up until this point, I really like the way that you're switching between different elements, the fact that you're not just solely relying on one individual element to keep the track interesting. Maybe here, going back into the drop, I'm missing a little bit of impact. Like the drop just kind of happens and it's not really impactful. In the sense that, for example, that sequence opens up fully before the drop even happens for it. What you could do is like have the low pass filter open up right before that. Overall, I wouldn't even say that this is particularly like forced Psy. It's more like nighttime. Because it still uses like the standard drums and that kind of stuff. The kick and bass feels a bit more nighttimey than maybe forced. I'm personally not a fan of those slowdowns. I never used like a full-on tape stop effect on all of my sounds. Like that. Because it just feels a little bit odd to me. It's not wrong in any way, it's just personal taste there. The idea was forced, yeah, and I somehow ended where I always end. Isn't that the thing that you want though? To have a creative flow that always kind of guides you to your own style, the style that you seemingly want to create. Maybe it's a good idea to embrace that idea. Right, like this is the music that you seemingly are writing, so embrace it. More night full on. Yes, exactly. That is, I think that would be a better characterization of it. Subject Ultra, Emerald DeVille, welcome. JRB, welcome. Favela Krapula, how are you doing? I'm sorry for that, mispronouncing your name. But JRB, yes, this is the new studio. I've been here for slightly over a week now. Studio has been set up on last Saturday. I think last Friday maybe. So I've started to get used to it more and more and more. This month is a lot of hard work. As you guys know, I'm doing sound design September, so I am posting a video every day, which is a rough schedule, but still a schedule that I can keep up with at this point. Tape stop was an idea I used for the first time here too. Not sure either. I usually, when I do like tape stop effects, which is very rare, but when I do them, I use them on one effect or one sound, I guess, and not so much on the master. For one, I don't really like the idea, because the tape stop effect, it pitches down the frequencies, right? So it almost always generates a lot of mud in the very low frequencies, and even your low end is just losing a lot of losing a lot of clarity. So I almost only do it on mid-range elements. So the stuff like the kick and bass and stuff like that, I never use it on, because I just don't want to deal with the hassle of that stuff being there. But personally, I'm also not a fan of the idea of the energy level of the track kind of slowing down to a stop and then it coming back in the way. So even like creatively from the music that I'm trying to write, the flow that I'm trying to go for, it almost never calls for a flow where it just completely, as the name suggests, like tapes off and completely goes to zero, right? But there are maybe some ways that you can use it. Maybe I just need to look at it more. Can we still submit an idea for design September? Sound design September. The way that I want to do it is I don't want to take individual sounds from individual tracks or individual artists and just trying to remake them. I think that that's a little bit annoying because it tends to be the case that the people that submit the idea just want to copy the idea because they think like, oh, big DJ use this idea and get many view. So me use idea also get many view, right? That is I think the mental gymnastics that they're trying to do. And I see this a lot. I see a lot of people who, for example, wanted back in the day when Vici was more popular, they wanted to learn their bass lines, and now that other psytrance is more popular, those same people want to use the bass lines of the psytrance that is popular now. So I don't want to facilitate the copying of artists purely to get views, or even for that matter, even if you're not trying to get views, you should be at the end of the day trying to make your own cool sounds. That being said, though, if you have an idea, so not, hey, this is the sound from the track, please make that sound. And if you don't exactly make that sound, I will get angry in the comments. If you have that kind of idea, then I'm perfectly willing to take that idea. And yeah, you can still submit that. I have things planned out for this month in terms of videos and everything, but I don't have all of the sound design already in place and fixed. I just have a structure in mind that allows me to every couple of days sound design like 5-6 patches, record all of the videos, and then post all of those videos out. And if you still want to submit for later on, I don't know what sound design I'm going to be doing on the 29th or the 30th of September. So I don't know. Now more like how TF do people make this? Yeah, but usually I don't care that people. So my goal is not for other people, not for you guys, the viewers, to not copy other people. Make a Vinivici bass right now. I still probably have the project from the videos that I used to do back in the day, but back in the day I didn't care about that, and I was growing, not more, but I had an easier time growing because I was so focused on the growing that I didn't consider the moral aspect of what does it mean for me to make content explaining how to make sound of certain artists. What does that mean for that artist? What does that mean for... Do they even like it? Do they even want that? I never had, even back in the day, never had like an interaction with an artist where they were like, oh yeah, that's okay, or no, I really don't want you to do that. So I was just not thinking about it. And then towards the end, right before I took a break, somebody once again asked me to like make a Ghost Rider bassline or something like that, like a specific bassline, and they wanted a specific track and a specific thing, and I did that. And I was like, oh, but this is a saw wave with a filter on it. This is nothing more than that. Because it was just the easiest patch ever, if I remember correctly. It was... when do you give feedback on our songs? During this stream. The stream is going to run for like 4 more hours, and then I'm going to be giving feedback on songs. But I'm currently explaining something. Because I was asked another question in the chat. Anyway, so I made that patch and I was like, okay, I can film this, but the tutorial itself is going to be 2 minutes long. And I cannot post a 2-minute video because then I don't get any, like that's too short, right? For a video. it needs to be a little bit longer. It needs to get to like 8 minutes to get the mid-roll ads and to really perform in the algorithm and whatnot. So at that time I was like, okay, what else can I put in the video to make it longer and to talk a little bit longer? What I ended up doing was I talked about like copying other artists, and from that moment on I also realized that the tutorials that I was making was actually facilitating the behavior that I was then against. So I just stopped completely making them. And now even in Sound Design September, I only do, if you have seen the videos, the ones where I mention another artist, it is either always inspired by that artist, it is not a direct remake of the sound that they were going for, or it's even multiple artists, right? So you can see here the strong progressive basses like Omni-Key, Blastoise, and interactive noise. It's not just, oh, here's Omni-Key track, here's baseline of Omni-Key track, now you guys use that baseline. It is the like sound design idea from those producers, as opposed to here is the individual sound. And that is the goal with the series. So if you want to submit anything in that vein, you can. Referencing an artist's sound or style in the video title or thumbnail is okay to appeal to new viewers, but how to steal specific sounds so they can steal a sound is just odd. Exactly. And that's something you only realize if you start to think about it yourself, which is, funnily enough, what I had to do, because the sound that I was remaking was so easy that the video wouldn't have been nowhere long enough for me to like actually deliver quality to deliver the content that I wanted to give, right? I want to give people at least a few minutes of viewing experience and explain the things that I want to explain and all of that stuff. So yeah, I had to think about it and I had to come up with a different story. And through coming up with that different story, I was like, but hang on a second, the thing that I'm doing is facilitating these people to actually copy. Apocalisse, Musicale, and Guido, welcome to the stream as well. GLD7 Viper, welcome. I think that's all the new names. Now I'm going to go back into feedback. So this was Ninks. And then we have no more new patrons. So for anybody that doesn't know, a patron or a red name in my Discord server is going to get priority in the queue, so you can jump the queue if you're a patron. But for now, seeing as there's no new patrons, we're just going to go top down here. So JRB, Music Makers, work in progress. A much earlier version of this was on stream a few months back, so it might sound familiar. This is a finished arrangement, sounds and levels are ballpark where I want them before mastering. Does anything stick out or out as need rearranging or addressing in mixing/mastering, for example? It's a long track. Is it enough to keep it interesting? Let's see. Did I skip one? No, the DK track, we did check that
the dreamers of dreams
on the last stream. I did close the queue before, but we did check that track because it was shorter.
And sitting by desolate streams, world losers and world forsakers, on whom the pale moon gleams. Yet we are the movers and shakers of the world, forever it seems. Forever it seems.
I think the ambient sounds, the Foley sounds here are a little bit too loud. I feel like they're covering up the actual vocal. It sounds unnaturally loud in comparison to the vocal. Almost.
We are the music makers.
I don't like this massive impact at the start when there's nothing happening in front of it. Kick and bass is nice and strong. It's a bit of a harsh vocal there. It's nice and clean once again. I don't like the hard panning on the synths here. I think when it comes to these synths, they're supposed to be like main elements. So they should probably sit in the center of your face. Sounds really strange to have so many things happen in just one ear. And it's different from auto panning because it's static, right? It's not like it's moving around your head, it's just happening in a specific spot. Is it possible to send 2 tracks or a maximum of just 1 track? I mean, we've seen many people send multiple tracks, so I don't have any minute or maximum to that, so you can send as many tracks as you want. If it gets too busy in the queue, I might skip over multiple tracks. Here again we have a main synth that is just panned fully to the left. I don't know why that's the case. I also feel like there's a lot of reverb in this particular part. Just like this constant wash, this constant on the background, like white noise or something like that even. Not even reverb maybe.
We're just talking about music makers and musicians, because all artists and all human beings should be included in that, because we are all creators in some way.
Like that the bassline has a little bit of stereo information to it. Vocals feel, I know they're like very loud and stuff, and that needs to, that is what you need for the mix to work, but some places are just too full to put vocals in, and instead of having them overpoweringly loud, I would just put them in a place where the vocal has actual space to exist in. You're kind of fixing the problem of not having enough space in your vocals by blowing up the room with the loudness of the vocals itself. instead of emptying the room, so that the vocals can, you know, just comfortably stand in there. Hello, Bo. Welcome. I think the track could use a little bit more tapering off over the spectrum.
Yet we are the movers and shakers of the world.
It oftentimes it feels way too bright. Like this is a spot where it's just aggressively bright. With that sound there. Stream lags out sometimes. I'll keep an eye on it more.
We are the movers and shakers of the world. Forever it seems.
Okay, there's a lot going on there. Suddenly the track just becomes a lot faster and then a lot slower suddenly. So suddenly you start to change the BPM there. I don't know how well that would work in a live set. You would need to have a fairly specific purpose for a live set to play a track this aggressive into a track that goes such low BPM, like almost Psybient kind of BPM. I don't think any Psybient track would mix in there particularly well with how aggressive the track was in its sound design. Another thing is that you said you were still going to do the mastering, I think. Yeah, where I want them before mastering. But this is already mastered. This 100% must have a limiter on it. And the reason why I know that is because you're falling a little bit for the trap of... how do you say? Essentially, when you're producing, you probably produce with your master chain already on the track, which is what most producers nowadays do. And what tends to happen then is that there's no penalty for going over 0 dB, because your limiter is just going to take care of that for you, and that distortion is much less noticeable than if you were actually just hard clipping, right? So, and anytime you do that, therefore there is no penalty to boosting up volumes too high for a certain sound. So you start producing your track, you start writing your track, and you have some cool basic ideas down, and that is when you apply your final limiter and whatnot. That is when you apply that master chain, and then you start to produce more and more, and you say like, oh, this needs a new element, okay, boost the element. Put that element in there and give it a nice high volume, because this is the new thing, this is what you want people to listen to now, because it is the new sound, right? We tend to think of it that way. And that just goes on multiple times, and you end up with sounds that are overpowering, because you're adding them into a space where they don't really have the space to sit. And in order for them to sit in there, you just turn up the volume, and there's no penalty to that. So you don't hear that you're actually like overpowering certain parts and stuff like that. But this is just a straight render of the MIDI from the DAW rather than properly rendering, stem mixing, etc. Yeah, but it's still mastered, therefore. If there's a mastering chain on it, then it's mastered. Because that's the definition of a mastering chain. And the problem with mastering something, especially when you're still producing it, is that it's not the final track. You're mastering something that will never be your actual final track, and therefore there's negative like consequences to that, in the production phase you can add elements that are too loud, but you don't notice it because they're just going to be turned down by the master limiter anyway. That is why I personally hold that very clear separation between producing, mixing, and mastering. When I'm producing, when you see me in my Ableton project where I'm just working on the track, that is where I'm producing and writing, and that is where I spend most of the time. But then I export all of the tracks individually, and I normalize all of the tracks so that I lose the volume balance between all of the material, so that I have to, for every sound that I add to the mixing project, I have to rethink about, okay, what is the volume of this track going to be? What is the loudness of this track? What does that need to be? And that is just a thought of priority, right? Which element has priority over which other element? And that is the way that I am personally able to get better mixes out of my mixing project, is that I have to reevaluate all of those sounds, even the ones that you maybe barely hear in the production because I've turned it down too much, or the sounds that you hear too much in the production because I have turned it up too much. I always know, I talked about this last stream, I always know which of my sounds I have added last to my production, because those are the sounds that when I start listening to the track on headphones or the Bluetooth earphones or all of that stuff, they immediately stand out to me as too loud. So that is that is So would you not recommend steering elements in the track to roughly where you want them as you produce? Yes, I would do that. I would definitely do that. What I wouldn't do is produce with a master chain on, because that removes the penalty for going too loud. That is the problem. It's not the problem that you're setting elements at like the levels that you're setting it at. It is that when you are making a mistake, you're not punished for that mistake in your production. When I make a mistake with the element being too loud, there isn't a limiter that is keeping everything under control at the end of it, and that makes sure that the low end comes through and whatnot, all of the stuff that the limiters tend to do, especially nowadays with like master chain, multi-band compression and whatnot. All of that stuff, it is there to fix the mistakes from before. But you can, essentially you have, what you do when you add a master chain to your production project is that you're fixing the mistakes that you're yet to make. And therefore you never learn from the mistakes that you make because they get automatically fixed for you. But it's not like they get fixed in a nice way, right? Because we can still hear sometimes the vocal becomes so powerful that it overtakes the kick and bass, for example. Or there's just too many elements in the track and everything starts to become harsh and almost annoying to the ears. That is the real problem here. It's not so much the problem that you're setting levels wrong. The problem is that when you do set them wrong, you're not punished for it. The master chain is just like, oh, I'll hold your hand and I'll do it for you. But you then therefore don't learn, okay, what is the proper volume that something would need to have for it to fit in the track. And therefore it is hard to judge how much space do you have. And therefore it becomes harder to judge which elements should be added where in the track. I guess that is more the problem here. Not so much the individual volume or something like that. It's like you're preparing the listener to adapt to a new groove and tempo, but it's hard. It allows us to enjoy it. That is also true. The tempo change is in a fairly strange spot in the track, I would say, because it almost feels like this track was exclusively made to mix into the tempo of ambient, but with all of the elements of a nighttime full-on track. Because the sound design is quite hard and quite distorted and quite aggressive, which is all cool. It's just like a little bit of a mismatch between the elements. A DJ would either cut that out completely, and therefore that part of the track would never get played at like a festival or something like that. If you want that moment of tempo changing to be played at a festival, you would probably need to do that somewhere in the middle of your track, so that there's still a part at the end of the track where the DJ can mix out from again. But now that only gets harder to do. So that part of the track is probably going to get cut off by most DJs that would play your track. Cosmo Shish, welcome. Next up we have Naga Morage over here. Look up Folly Monostars, which I also should be able to play in the browser. Yes. Let's see. Audio isn't going into the master bus stupidly loud and needing clipping or limiting, but I understand what you're saying. But you're probably boosting it in the master chain. Because the pushing effect is definitely there in your track. It was definitely getting squashed together. I feel like the kick and bass are lacking bass. Why is there no information below 70 Hertz? Yeah, the first harmonic here for the bass line is completely gone. Some cool sound design here. I like the little lower steps that you do here. Almost vocally steps. Infrashell, welcome. I mean, the kick and bass is nice and clean, I will give you that, but it just has it doesn't, you kind of fixed the problem of the kick bleeding into the first bass note by just removing all of the frequencies that can cause any problems. Anything below 70 Hertz is what caused the issues, and therefore you just deleted it. I don't think that that's the right approach. I think you should have lower frequencies in a dance music track. TSK, welcome as well. It sounds really good, otherwise just could use some bass. Yeah, exactly. It's the only reason why this is sounding strange to us, I would say. Even like the rest of the mix is okay, like the hats have a nice spike in the spectrum, they're nicely coming through, that kind of stuff. All of that is okay, but it's just unbalanced sounding because there's one of the frequencies that is most important in your track is missing. Yeah, it's missing a good 80% or more of the available energy spectrum. What do you mean with the energy spectrum, though? Like, this is sounding really cool. There's clearly a talented producer that is working here, so I think, because it sounds like such a strange mistake to make as a professional, right? Like, this person is clearly well versed in the creation of sidelines, otherwise you don't sound design all of this stuff and know about all of this stuff and arrange it in such a way that makes sense, and like, the rest of the track is there, right? There's no other notes on it. It's just that he made a sidelines track which sounding really good and then cut out the frequency that is one of the most important. Glyph and Mind B, welcome. How are you guys doing? Oh, and while you're there, use a little bit of stereo width on your bassline. That's always sounding nice. M stereo spread. I can always recommend set this up to like 200 Hz, maybe 300, and then change the tone with the bands and focus and set a total amount with the spread. It's going to improve your bassline. Ah, on that way, like the power. Yeah. That is true what you're saying. That there is it's like an inverse, because if I remember correctly from like electronics class long years ago, there is a definition for actual power, which is the amount of energy that is going through an electronic signal. And there's probably people that have studied electronics now that know more about this than me. What we're in music production, what we essentially do, if you look at it on the dance floor, is it's almost like the two edges of the spectrum are the highest energy or the highest power, and then the mid-range is kind of in between there. I'm trying to quantify exactly what I'm trying to say here. The low and high frequencies tend to have the most impact on how we perceive the track on the dance floor. Something like that. Yeah, no, it's not ohm. It's not like wattage, because you have the wattage, which is just the total amount of work performed by electronics. I have a very technical degree, as you can tell. I am very technical minded, so some people, they may explain it in an emotional way, like the energy spectrum, that being an emotional way, but as somebody who has studied computer science, right, and therefore has always had like a technical background, both the words energy and spectrum have a very distinct meaning, so I get confused by that. Yeah, wattage is just amps times volt. Yeah, but the wattage is also, it is how much power is, or how much energy is actually used by a system, right? Or that is wattage times the time. Because we say, that's for example how we talk about batteries, is they have a certain milliamp hour or something like that. I don't know, to be honest, I never cared about the electronics part of my computer science class. Maybe I should, because I can tell every day that it has application on the thing that I'm doing now, whereas the computer science stuff has less so. But all of that stuff, the power, the wattage, the energy, because energy is measured in joules, which is different than wattage. All of that stuff is something that at one point I knew and had to know, but nowadays I don't know anymore. And then there's all bunch of stuff like magnetism and electromagnetic fields. I had to study all of that stuff, but I don't know anything about it anymore. But still, all of those definitions, they stay with me. So if somebody says energy, I'm immediately thinking joules and whatnot. and quantifying that into actual feedback for music sometimes is really hard. Anyway, I like that track. Thanks for your feedback, man. I'll try to fix the issue with the lower frequency of the bass. I'm not sure what I did yesterday night before exporting the track. Probably I made some cuts. Yeah, it sounds like you just high-passed your track at like 70, 75 hertz or something like that. You shouldn't do that. Your low end. People are too. I think this is a good takeaway. People are too scared of stuff that is happening in the lowest of frequencies. So what I see a lot of producers do is say that this is their master track of their project. What I see them do is something like this, where they say like, oh, I don't need stuff under 40 hertz, or in this case, maybe you set it to 70 hertz or something. I don't need that stuff, so let's cut it out. The question that you should ask before you apply this filter, right, before you do this action is, what is here? Is there anything in here that is actually worth cutting out? Because if there isn't, then all you end up with is the negative side effects of this filter, and it's not cutting anything out, right? So let's say that you say, okay, I need to cut everything above 20 hertz. But you know that your kick doesn't make stuff below 20 hertz because, for example, you make your kick drum with kick drum over here, and your kick drum only goes down to a frequency of 36 hertz. So your kick drum doesn't have anything like that. You know that your bass line doesn't have anything like that because you know that the lowest frequency of the bass line that you're going to is whatever key that it is, whatever. And you know that you're not generating any sub harmonics of that way. If you know those two things, right? So let's say that this is the kick, we have the bass, and then we have, I don't know, a couple of synths over here. Why not make a group here and put this thing on the group? Then you can say, okay, all of this stuff, all of these tracks over here, I don't have to worry about removing the lowest frequencies because I'm doing that with this filter over here. I can set this to up until like 150 hertz even. I can actually cut out the stuff that is clocking up my lowest frequencies as well. This filter is doing two things at once. I know that this track isn't generating any frequencies below 20 hertz. I know this track isn't generating any frequencies below 20 hertz. I'm still filtering it out of every other element that I have in this project, and I don't negatively affect the kick and the bass with this filter. That is a much better approach than just slapping, because I know what happened here. You went into your master somewhere and you went, oh, I need to remove the lowest frequencies from my master, let me just go up, and somehow that filter ended up higher than it needs to be. I didn't master yet, only tried to mix, but yesterday I did something wrong there. Need to check it again. I was maybe it wasn't in the master, maybe it specifically went on the kick and bass channel. But it tends to happen. Most producers at the end or somewhere in their mastering chain, they will have a filter like this. And filters like this, always in psytrance, but along any musical or electronic music, filters like this do more bad than they do good, especially if you put them on the master chain or your kick and bass. Anything low frequencies, stay away with high passing. Don't do it. It is just going to make it worse. It never makes it better because there isn't any material there that is worth cutting out so much unless you're making, for example, techno and you have like a rumble and that rumble is already generating a lot of those frequencies and you're boosting them again so that you can distort them. Then you have, that you need to cut them out of the rumble, but still don't cut them out of the master, cut them out of the rumble then. You know what I mean? It's much that there's the high pass, people, it's because people don't know that there's negative side effects to a high pass or any filter for that matter in regards to the phase shift. And that is only things that you find out after somebody tells you, because it's not like, right? You can hear if you have a boost like this, that this sounds unnatural on your music if you do this on all of your synths or whatever. That is something that you instinctively kind of lower and lower, and at some point you just start to EQ the way that you're supposed to EQ with incremental changes to the frequencies and not doing too much, not destroying the sound too much, especially if you're working with acoustic stuff and whatnot. You train your ears for that, but something like the effects of phase shift are really hard to hear because they only become apparent when your music is played either really loud or you specifically start looking for them with like side scope and whatnot. Low cut the side signal at 200 or by ear. Don't do that. Especially on the master. If you're on the master, do not use high pass filters on your master. There is basically nothing here that is worth cutting out, neither in the mid channel, nor in the side channel, nor in the stereo channel. There's nothing that is worth cutting out so much that you ruin all of the phase relationship of the lower frequencies, both with normal phase processing or with normal phase behavior as well as with linear phase, because the pre-ringing is still there, the ringing is still there, the extension of the frequency is still there, it just gets shifted forward. And if you feel the need that in the master channel you still have all of that rumble that isn't supposed to be there, then something went wrong in the mixing. But if you low cut below 30 to 25 hertz and then do the phase align afterwards, that doesn't fix anything. You're still going to get the phase extension, you're still going to get ruined transient of the post-ringing, the bleeding. It is not about the alignment. The phase alignment isn't going to go out of balance if you high pass your master and the kick and bass goes through it, the phase will be aligned over here before the EQ as well as after the EQ, because the phase shift on both the bass and the kick is going to be the same. I only mean the bass channel, not on the master. Yeah, but again, why would you need to? It's gonna depend. If you're stereoizing your bass, I hope that you use a stereo spreader like M Stereo Sped that just has a minimum frequency at which it's active. Then there's no reason for you to go in here and add another EQ just to remove, like this doesn't do anything. If you then go into the sides and do another cut here, what is this removing if you're already removing it over here? I guess if you have the situation where you have a stereo spreader without a minimum frequency, but then I would argue that that stereo spreader is probably not designed to be put on the material that you want to put it on anyway. I know if you know what you're doing and looking at phase, a low cut could be useful, but typically you want the phase alignment. There are better tools in a way more precise way than a low cut. Yes. The question that everybody fails to answer when it comes to high passing stuff, especially the master, but also the kick and bass group or the kick or the bass, is what are you cutting out? Because I guarantee most of the time there's nothing there. You're just introducing an issue that down the line you have to fix again. Why would you do that? Why would you introduce that issue? Right? That is the problem. Anyway, I don't want to ramble too much because there are more tracks for me to listen to, including another one of Ninks. I don't really have something in place for when a patron puts multiple tracks in here. Ninks, are you fine with me not playing the second one or jumping the priority, or should I just do that? Only if you find the time and have a look at the low end. It's just a small snippet, but since I produced something in G sharp and I think it looks weird, thanks again. If it's just a small thing, we can do that now. Let's do that now. That way I'm still honoring the commitment that I have to my patrons. Yeah, so you're definitely phasing into the next bass note over here. This isn't resampled. I think this is a little bit too low and heavy, this track. Do you see how it kind of scoops up here to a very high lowest frequency? I think what's happening here is that your kick drum is at the same frequency throughout the whole tail. It is sounding okay, but it could be better. You could have a punchier kick and bass out of that. And what I mean is that what I think is happening here is that you have a kick drum that is doing something more like this. Where the whole body, the whole lowest frequency part, the whole sub part over here, anything below or behind the P basically, is at the same key. Whereas personally, I like it more when it kind of slides into that key. And the only part that you really need to be in key if you're doing something like traditional phase alignment is this last part over here, right? So you can just go up until the halfway point. You can set whatever frequency that you want. And then you just make sure that after that, it is in the key that you want the phase line to. And then you can phase align however you want. Or even then, if you're not using traditional phase alignment like I do, you can even do something like this and make the kick even more punchy. I think what is happening with your kick though is that it's like this, where all of this stuff is in the same frequency, and that is why it shows up so heavily on, for example, the vector scope that we saw here. It's just like a big spike over here where it doesn't really have that punch to it. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't really. What you often see with the kick drum going through the spectrum is that you can really see towards the lowest frequencies that it's like it moves backwards. That spike, it moves back and up as it goes into higher volumes, and then the sub is really there. So I think what happened here is that effect is gone and it's just a spike moving up and down because it lowers in pitch so fast. I think that is the only thing that is sounding off to me from the low end here. Anyway, we are moving on to Kyrie, who is new to the Discord here. I hope that you're still here in chat as well. NYUK, how are you doing? Welcome. Should I high-pass my 3-phase generator on my house? I have no idea. Please don't. I don't want any responsibility on that. If your house catches fire, I don't want to be. I don't want to be involved. I'm not going to give you any advice on that. Bugs Funny, welcome as well. Don't master engineers cut the high and lows? Yeah, in something like rock music or classical music or stuff like that, or pop music, where we're not aiming for full loudness. And we're not aiming for tight phase relationship between something like a kick and a bass. And I guess that is not even the most, because the phase relationship stays in place. It extends the frequencies around that area. So master engineers might cut the high and low, but in electronic music, which is what I tend to talk about on this channel, don't do that. Perhaps I fucked something up in kick 2. Might be the case, but kick 2 has a pitch graph that isn't in line with the graph of, or with the actual length of the kick. So the plugin that I showed before, Audija kick drum here, you can see it's a 1-to-1 representation. So at this point in the kick drum that we see over here, that is going to be the frequency. That is not the case for kick 2. Kick 2 skews it so that you have more resolution at the start. One of the annoying things here is that if you want to work on the transient really precisely, you have to zoom in, which you have to right click and then you have to zoom in like this. In kick 2, that effect is less because it uses more space to represent the start of the sound, and it gradually tempers off. So what can be the case is that you set a point like this in the what you think is the middle, but actually that point is skewed much more forward in the actual kick drum. So all of your punch end up being in the spot where we lower the volume for it. Pop tracks can be extremely loud too. Yes, but they don't maintain the same phase relationship like we do in psytrance, for example. And it's also not, it's never going to be something like dubstep loudness, right? Where your goal is to aim for at least -6 LUFS. That rarely happens in pop music. Even like rap beats and stuff like that aren't mastered to that strong of an extent. They might get to, just like we do with psytrance, -8 or something like that. And even then, I think most pop music is currently mixed for streaming or mastered for streaming services. Then it becomes no issue. You can high pass something, you can have the phase issues that come with that high pass, and you're not even going to really affect the final master in any way. Because the master limiter is just going to deal with that. The problem that we have is that we are aiming for very crisp, very loud music. You can have music that is very crisp and isn't very loud, that is very easy to make. You can have music that is very loud and isn't very crisp, where the frequencies just go through all each other and it isn't clear what is happening in the track. But trying to get both at the same time is really, really difficult. That is the issue. I haven't listened to any music whatsoever today. Today has been a very talkative stream, which I like. I like it. Gives me more time to explain things, but of course people also want to hear me listen to their music. So next up is Kyrie, also known as Slates, with Running Him Down. I made this on my phone on BandLab, so don't flame it too hard. It's going to be fairly interesting. I don't even know if this person is making psytrance, because they're, I think, new to the channel.
Yo! Catch you lacking, that's a headshot. Just another dead up.
Radiant made.
I don't even try around CJ, fam. You know we'll let it go anytime, any day, any place. You know my boys are riders. Yo, if 3 man jump out German whips and back their blade, you're getting hit. Don't run your mouth in the net or blam your headaches 1 then blam it 6. How many times did I ride out uptown? How many times did I use my knife with a sword and walk in hardstyle racing, jump out, take man's life? Pussy, got wetted, got ching.
Very British.
Audience when he got ding. Hop out the whip with a skeng and boot off, chatting online saying he wanna shoot off. That's all, Catman's never been winged. How many upload nicks have I yinked? Run a man down in my Air Force Ones, they're creased, I'm pissed, they're covered in blood. Got nicked by feds on my 125, they stopped and searched and I found that bud like who did? And who did? No face, no case, and feds out a lot. Now mumsy's crying, a baby's dead. Just know if you talk that shit, you're fucked. Talk that shit, get packed, no FIFA. Arching the back like Star Khalifa. Ops wanna make a truce, pull up and seal and run, I'm eager. It was me that taught the shot, I'm a teacher. 15 bags in cash for a feature, swear that's my man. Jump out, head those 15 inch, go deeper. Run man down like Will and slap it.
Now this is the moment where you do actually go back into the mix and start high passing things, because there's continuous mud in here, there's continuous signals.
Here on the ped and
So here we actually know that there's stuff in there that is causing issues. This is indeed not maybe the right channel for the kind of feedback that you want to go for. I'm not gonna give you any information on, I don't know, the the lyrics and whatnot. Honestly, I think it's some of the people, because I think he's already gone. Otherwise, I think he would have been in the chat here. Man got splashed, yes. I think he's already gone because he asked about an hour ago when he could send stuff for feedback. There's a number of people that just go around streams like this, sending their music thinking that it's a way to promote. So I don't think that's the way to do it, and I think that is maybe what happened here. This person clearly does not know what I normally do. That being said, I'm going to try to take this seriously. The first thing that I heard was that the vocals are like very, I don't even know if you call, technically they're vocals. Yeah, the vocals are very dry. it just sounds like you recorded one microphone and never really did something with that. There are some effects on it, but generally speaking, in hip hop music, you tend to hear a little bit of harmony nowadays, especially in the mumble rap style a little bit more. I do like the clarity of the vocals. I don't think it was even like auto-tuned, right? Normally, because the mumble rap scene and that kind of stuff, I know this is different, but that is my most expertise that I have with hip hop. But the mumble rap, they just tune it all the way to shit, and you cannot understand any of the inflections of what the person is actually trying to say, right? That is the whole reason why people tend to not like it as much, is that you're removing all of the inflections of the vocal that makes the vocal easy to understand, just so that you can push it in a key that it does not necessarily have to be in. Right, in this case it feels very bouncy, it feels very nice because it's not auto-tuned in any way. It is, yeah, it's too dry and unprocessed, exactly. Yeah, we did have somebody say that it was hip-hop trash music, which I don't agree with. I think that this was, especially for something that was produced on a mobile phone, this was actually very well done. This isn't mumble rap, this is drill. Right, this is the British rap. Mumble rap is American. Mumble rap is the rap where they go and they put an auto-tune on top of that, and then they write the lyrics after to make it sound like that is what they actually said. It's just at least that is what it sounds like. There's probably some technique even after that, singing into an auto-tune to make it sound as best as it can be, but it always feels like the auto-tune is just there to force it in the key with two fists, one from the lower part and one from the higher part, and just smashes it into the key of the track, and by that you're destroying all of the inflections of the vocal that actually makes it understandable. Because the pitch of the vocal, the small part of the vocal, does actually do something when we're listening to it. There's a reason why normally as humans we don't speak at one constant tone. There's like even between keys small variations in frequency of the human voice, which are important, like a vibrato, for example, in a singer's voice that does something. You enjoyed my vocal though. Well, you can turn it into a track if you want to. It is really warm here. It is 1 hour 10 minutes. I think I'm gonna go take a quick break so that I can open the window up a little bit. It rained before, so I was hoping that it would have cooled off, but all it has done is it made it very humid in here, and therefore the heat comes a little bit faster. In wintertime, this is going to be very nice because I don't have to heat this room, which means that during the day I never have to turn on the heating because my PC just does it, seemingly. But in the summer, that is a little bit of a problem. Are you planning to go to Boom Festival in 2025? I did say that I would love to go there. I would need to see. I cannot yet book any tickets or whatnot. That will come probably like February or something like that. Then is when I will worry about what festivals I want to go to. I would love to go back to Burning Mountain. I would love to go back to WoW Festival. Both of those festivals were amazing. And those are definitely the priority. And if after that I have money and time left, I will also be going probably as number 3 Boom Festival. Yes, that would be very cool. My main goal is to go to the thing Eclipse is organizing with the whole producer retreat there, and just stand in the back screaming about cleaning up your baseline. That will be my contribution to the whole festival. I will just be there like an old, gruntled guy screaming about the one thing that I know. Anyway, yeah, I'm going to take a quick break. I'm going to open the window here and let it cool off a little bit. You might be able to see that I'm starting to sweat on my forehead, so that is not great. But yeah, I'll pop open a track here. I think, by the way, I can just put the track that I want to play during the break on here. And it should work. Ah, no. Okay, so then I do need to put it on a separate track. Yes. By the way, for anybody that wants to hear... Wait, does this... Ah, okay. Ah, it copies over the whole thing. I didn't know that. I think this is a good time to shout this out as well. Actually, let me do it like that. Yeah, sorry. That usually looks nicer as well if I use the Eclipse version. For those that don't know, a lot of my music, either stuff that I've already released and the unreleased stuff is over on Eclipse Sound Syndicate. You guys should all be subscribed to there, because more music is going to come soon. And we have some cool visuals in here, so I can use that during the break to play the same track that I wanted to play, but with the visuals.
fulfill all your wishes, every kind of pleasure you could conceive. Then you would get more and more adventurous, and you would make further and further out gambles as to what you would dream. So in this idea then, everybody
I was muted? Aha. Okay. So everything that I just said did not make sense whatsoever. I had the window open. So that was why the lighting was different. And that was what I was talking about. I was saying that I want to have more professional lights in the front so that I'm lit from the front better. I should have sound now, right? Yes. Okay. Okay. Let's see what we're at. No. Now it's unmuted and you're back. Okay. Cool. Cool. Yeah, all that I was saying is that I want to upgrade my lighting. I had a nicer way of saying it, of course, but you guys didn't hear that. Anyway, let me open up the analyzers again, and then we'll move into 2 tracks by Apocalisse Musicale, who is a person who has almost always submitted 1 or 2 tracks during like every feedback stream in the last couple of times that we had them. Of course, the feedback streams have been a little bit irregular, especially with my long break, but I remember he makes more tracks than the usual person. He is not like the person that every once in a while just has a track to submit. He has, or this is like a huge backlog that we're going through, or they produce literally 2 tracks a week. And the reason why I say that is because I felt like a lot of his track had the same issues where it's just muddy and too many things going on, and some stuffs are, they even feel out of tune from time to time. So I hope that is something that has improved. Either way, let's hear Murderous Power by Apocalisse Musicale. He is living up to his name in that there's a lot of stuff going on in his music. More like a psychedelic techno thing that I'm hearing now, I think. Oh yeah, he had these kick drums that had like very nasty clicks to them. I think I've already heard this track before, haven't I? Yes. Yes, we have heard this track before from him. So here I can say everything that I said in the last feedback stream, which is this kick drum is sounding very strange and has a very nasty click to it. And overall, I think I'm not a fan of like a lot of the decisions that you're making in regards to how you're filling up the track with elements. How it feels like sometimes there's too many elements. And mainly how everything is squashed together, how there's a lot of reverb on a lot of things. And what we heard before with, for example, that offbeat hat that is just playing like a random rhythm, it feels like you're not putting enough thought in what elements should be doing. Like, is it just me or is everything very squashed here, even when the kick is not playing? Yeah, this kick drum just having frequencies over here and over here. I know this is like high pass and whatnot, But you can see even without the high pass, the kick drum exists over here, then there's nothing in between, and then there's the sub bass over here. It sounds very odd. Like you removed all of the punch from the kick drum. I've submitted the same track as the last feedback stream, but now it's finished. If you don't want to open it again, it's okay for me. It's not like that, where I don't want to open up tracks that I heard in the last feedback stream, or something like that. It's mainly that I want to hear improvement, right? The main thing that I don't like is when people keep submitting music, even if it's the same track or a different track or whatnot, and I just need to say every time the same thing to them. In this case, it's just the same track, so I feel like there's not much that I can say that I haven't said in the last feedback stream. You can just go back and watch the last one. Like, there's just too much going on here. There's no clear thread through this track. There's no clear identification of what you want me to listen to in the mix. It is... The best way that I can say it is that it's still very clear that you're a beginner in this track, and I said it in the last stream too, so maybe with the other track that you submitted, maybe that's a newer track. You guys cannot see the screen. Am I such bad a streamer that I'm... Wow. Sorry guys. I have 3 monitors and I don't have enough space for everything that I need. My Discord is in front of my preview for OBS. I should do it like this so that I can at least see a little bit. Because I have my chat there as well. I'll play this again so I can at least indicate that part. Here. Yeah, here you can see it. Here you can see we have the click of the kick drum, then there's nothing there, and then there's the low frequency here. It sounds really strange that there's no punch in between. I don't know what you're doing. Lol noob, yes I am. I need like 2 more monitors to be able to do my job, and I already have 3 of them. What I wanted to say was, it feels like you're not really listening to other people's music as references. Something like this kick drum sounding like this, you would be able to pick on that immediately if you have proper ear training. You just hear like, oh wait, the punch of the kick drum is just not there, right? Right now we see this. It almost feels like what you did is you low pass the kick drum so that you can layer a top kick on it, and then you did not realize that that top kick does not cover the full range of frequencies. I think. Like, how else would you get to this point? How else would you make a kick drum where that it's not like this is EQ'd out, right? Because you can... if it would be EQ'd out, you would see like, oh, he just cut that frequency by too much, and you would still see it on the graph at least to a certain extent, but there's literally just nothing there. The graph is just completely discontinuous here, right? And here it's the same thing. So here you can see the scoop of low frequencies, here you can see the click of the transient, and in between there's just nothing there. A monitor sphere. I would really need those Apple Vision things where you can just put the monitors wherever you want. It would look silly from the camera's perspective, but at least I would be able to see all of the information that I would need to see. Anyway, I hope moving on to his next track that he improved a little bit on these things, because this was... otherwise I'm just sitting here and saying the same things over and over again every week, and that is not something that I really like to do. So I hope that this new track here by Apocalisse Musicale is an improvement. Why does it show that you're new to the Discord, though? Because you've been here for a while. You see, it gives me the flower. I'm new. But he has submitted music before. Like I have his music here. Or this is a different account. Ah, you made a new account. Okay. The United States is not continuous, and so is this basement. Yeah, not something that you see every day. Yeah, he's the imposter. Yes, he just copied over some of the old tracks from Apocalisse and Musicale because they happen to have the same name or something like that. Anyway, I'll play it. Otherwise, I'm just yapping too much. Let's hope that there's some improvement in here. It's more clear what you want us to listen to. I think this lower stuff over here is a little bit too loud. There's low frequencies there that you don't need. Everything is still sounding very washed out and almost too warm here. I think your sub bass for the kick is a little bit too much. I think overall you're a little bit too strong on the lower frequencies here. Sounds are missing some high frequency bite. This sound has high frequency bite here. You can see the high frequencies existing there for a little bit. But you can still hear on the clap, for example, there's this massive reverb that almost covers the whole space between claps. I don't see why that is needed. I also don't see why the clap needs to be low pass at like 10k. Yo bro, I'm a big fan. Any chance to test my track? There you go. That should bring up the bot with an answer. Yes, there. It felt like the beat came in a beat early. Yeah, I think very much still the same issues that you had in some of the other submissions. It is a little less busy, at least, but it still feels very squashed, very washed out, overly warm. not crispy enough in the separation between elements, not crispy enough in the high frequencies, like not enough stuff happening in the high frequencies. The hats and the claps and all of that stuff that usually fills up 10k and above for some reason have been low past that 10k. I also feel like the melody wasn't the greatest. I am not good in telling if something is in key or not, and I'm sure that if it was really out of key, somebody would have picked up on that. But it sounds like the second chord that you're playing doesn't really fit the progression. Progression-wise, I don't think this is the best feeling at that. It doesn't really. It doesn't stand out as being like really out of tune, but it also doesn't stand out as being a particularly emotional melody or harmony or whatever it is. I open the link, but I don't understand where I'm supposed to link the track or to place the WAV file. Well, you should be in the Discord, and it says you should look for the channel feedback on stream, which is just here in the stream area. So you just go over here, and then it's gonna look something like this, and then you can submit. Of course, read the rules before posting. Over here, and then it should be all good. We have a. There we are. Yeah, this should be you, I think. Thanks for the opportunity, feedback, and advice. You're welcome. I would love to hear a bit more improvement in your next submission, Apocalisse Musicale. I hope my best advice I can give you is listen to the music that you want to make. So reference material from other artists for at least half an hour per day. But I would go, in your case, I would go for an hour in 2 half-hour sessions. You just put them on the speakers that you're actually producing on, all of that stuff that you're mixing on and all of that stuff. And then you listen to it and not doing anything else, by the way. Don't read emails, don't browse Twitter, browse Reddit while you're doing it. Just sit here, listen to it, and then start the production process, and then halfway through the production process, listen again, try to get your ears in tune. What does professional music sound like and what does my music sound like? What are the differences? And try to resolve those differences. Anyway, I know there's a few more tracks in the queue here. There's the Word Salad and Bugs Funny track, but we have another Patreon submission here, so that is what we're going to go to next. It's a private link. This is a private sharing link, doesn't it work? It does work, yes. For some reason, sometimes private links don't show up like this, and I think that happens when you don't have any pictures. Because as you can see, this page has no pictures whatsoever. So maybe because it is unable to get a picture, it doesn't allow for this part to show up. Because you can see the normal part is still there. But that doesn't allow me to play it inside of here. But that isn't too much of a problem. I just have to take care of the autoplay. Anyway, this is Conflicting Stones 2.3 FX by Wizen. Also, I think other sound selection would help. It could be the sounds, yeah, that we talked about before, where the progression doesn't sound good, maybe because of the sounds that you use to play it, as opposed to it actually being out of key or something like that. Might be a bit too quiet for you guys. I can turn it up. Give me a second. Kick and bass sounds nice. This is out of rhythm. So here you have a trance gate that is on the opposite part of where the click happens. It's probably a good thing to align this with the click of the bass line. It is nice and clean. You love to see it. Looks really good. That's going to be nice and powerful even on bigger systems. I like the mix. I like the overall tonal balance that we're getting here. I am not super fan of the clap slash snare that you're using. I feel like it's a little bit too long. It feels like it's washing out up until the point of the offbeat, and I'm personally not a fan of that effect. I like it to fade out a little bit more, have it a little bit more dynamic. I like this effect on the synth that you're doing here, where sometimes it sounds vowely and sometimes it doesn't. Good way to keep things interesting. I do think this section though needs a new sound, because now it's starting to become boring. We can hear that it's just the same sound playing again. This would be the part where you would change elements, change idea. Yeah, I think the main issue that I have with this track is that you're keeping elements too long. So now this FM synth has been playing for like 3-4 sections of 16 bars, right? That is just way too long. It becomes boring after a while. Here again you can hear that this sound is being gated in a way that it kind of fades into that click, as opposed to syncing up with that click. Here you can even see it's not even like fading into it, it's just out of sync. Overall, the sound design is very nice. Nice and crispy. Here again, I like the bubbly, clicky FM thing that you're doing in the low, like that zooming thing. And this thing over here as well. I like that kind of stuff. Also, another cool thing that you're doing is you're keeping the risers as backing elements. So many times I hear producers who have a riser or downlifter that overtakes part of the track, where it's really meant to be a supporting element. It's the element that tells you like, hey, hang on, we're rising into something is about to happen, but it shouldn't take away from the musical idea itself. right? It should just be the indication that the change is about to happen. And here you can hear it's just like lightly in there. It gives you the information about, okay, we're coming close to a fill, and then it goes down again. One of the things that you could experiment with is a little bit more of the placement of the risers, because I hear that most of the time you have, especially your risers, rise throughout the fill, whereas it often is nicer sounding where they rise up until the fill, and then the fill thing stops. So over here, for example, instead of having it rise up until here, you would have rise it up until the kick that kind of closes out your fill. Cool stuff. I like it. For your fade out, make sure that it actually has a proper fade out. I mean, it doesn't have to be. If you do, you had it play 4 times here. If you keep it 4 times playing, that should work. I'm still new to this house, so every noise still freaks me out here. But I have the window open in the front, so I hear the road. Have you guys heard one of the ambulances yet? Who of you guys remember the ambulances from back in the day when I used to live here? We're further away from the main road, but it might still come up every once in a while. Okay. That means that next up we have Word Salad with Illuminati install, 180 BPM. So this is going to be interesting. It was a very good track. I agree with Glyph here. Thank you for the feedback. You're welcome. This is a very bass heavy kick and bass, way too sub heavy, way too reliant on this lower part here. You can take off, how much is that, like, we're here at minus like 6 dB. You can lower that to minus 19 dB, 18 dB, and yeah, you would be okay, I would think. It's just because on headphones at normal volume that is going to sound cool, right? That's one of the issues that I've had for the longest time. Subject Ultra will tell me about this. I tend to cut too much out of 500 Hz on my kick and bass, and that is the same issue as having too much sub. In that on a big system it's just going to sound like that one frequency is just going to overly dominate the rest of the track. If this were played at something like Master of Puppets, you wouldn't be able to hear the hats, for example. It would just be and some slight high frequencies coming through them. Give him a Word Salad feedback. That is what I'm trying to do here, yes. For somebody called Word Salad, there are very few vocals in this track. I was hoping for some messed up vocals in here to live up to the name. The sound design is sublime though. Like, other than the mix being off with too many low frequencies, there isn't really much that I would say you could improve. I am still boosting it quite a bit. I should be doing it like this, so now it's maybe a bit too quiet here. It's hard to keep everything volume balanced during the stream, but I'll try. Not really a fan of the reverberating hat being used as a snare here. I would personally still go with the clap. I get that you only want like the highest frequencies of the clap or the snare, but it also has that impact, right? Which a hat really doesn't have. So I feel like you're missing out on that. If that's what me, I would just bring down that frequency with a bell curve. Yeah, just a low shelf at 200 hertz, 150 hertz maybe. That'll fix it. Just like a little scoop out of there. But you can turn down that main harmonic of the bass line. You can, if you turn that down by like, maybe not 10 dB, but like 7 dB, that should get you closer. Because now it's at minus, where was it? Yeah, minus 10. You probably want to get that closer to amount around minus 22-ish. Maybe 10 dB is the amount that you want to cut out of it. That's quite extreme. Here it felt like the kick and bass came in a bar early, from where it should be in the structure. It's either the synth is not aligned with the structure, or the kick and bass just actually came in a bar earlier than the structure suggests. Like it was a 7-bar breakdown as opposed to an 8-bar breakdown, I guess. My hand may have slipped with R bass. That might be an issue, I don't know. But this is indeed way too sub heavy. You can see it as well, right? The scoop that is happening here. It doesn't necessarily have to be fully flat, but right now it's overpowering. So you could definitely would need to turn that down by minimum 6 dB, I would say. And it's mainly the bass line, I think. It's mainly that harmonic of the bass line that's causing the real issues here. But given that you have produced all of this stuff, I am sure that you'll figure it out, because you don't seem like a beginner at this kind of stuff. This was really good. Sound design is great. Overall, I think there was like one moment where I said the structure felt a little bit off, but other than that, even though the track was very chaotic, it was always guiding you towards the right dance. One of the things that I notice a lot in more beginner psytrance is that they have a structure that doesn't lend itself, that doesn't guide you through itself. What I mean by that is, you know how on the dance floor when you're dancing at a festival, you sometimes see these people that kind of predict when the next drop is coming, when the next fill and then drop is coming. You can see them when they're dancing in that they dance like this, and then at the moment that the fill is coming, you can kind of see them rise and they kind of jump into the next beat. I am one of those people. By the way, I like to, for the fill, I like to kind of raise up and then start dancing again like that. And you kind of see that happening before the music even gets there. The reason why that is because that music that you hear is structured in a way, and all of the elements are set up in a way that the track guides you through itself. The track kind of announces, okay, that is when the next fill is going to come. That is when the next segment of kick and bass is going to come, when the drop is, or something like that. This track also has that, despite having that very chaotic sound design, and that is something that I only really hear in the most professional high-tech, the people that have been doing it for quite a while or something like that. Because I get a lot of high-tech submitted, not a lot, but a decent amount of high-tech submitted to this feedback stream, and that is something that I don't really hear in any of the high-tech that plays on the feedback stream, for example. So that is really well done. Yeah. We have 2 more tracks here, and after that I'll do another quick break. I should be able... Hang on a second. I can just leave this door open. Hope that a little bit of the fresh air that comes out of the living room, because I have a window open there as well, that actually helps, and that the microphone doesn't pick up the street. But I can see the microphone already picking it up, so that isn't the greatest. Yeah, I guess I'll leave it closed then, and then just in the break open up the window and let some fresh air in here. High-tech is so fun. It is. Yeah, it's very fun to produce as well. It's technically very dense, because all of the sound design has to be very short, and you're constantly flipping back and forth between sounds and stuff like that. But that's also kind of true for stuff like nighttime and whatnot. The sound design is also a bit different, I would say, a bit more digital, a bit more glitchy. Anyway, next up we have Bugs Funny. I think this is, I think is a good track. XD, hope you enjoy it. Aha, okay. Okay, so this is going to be Spotify. Test tune helpers. Okay. First feedback. When you upload stuff to Spotify, capitalize all of the letters in the title, or all of the first letters in the title. I need to turn this up now. Yes. Nice clean kick and bass, I like that. Tony, I also like this bass line a lot. I don't know if I like the way that you transition from the offbeat bass into this. I think just keeping this bass line everywhere would have been nicer. Because Tony, I like this bass more than the other one. I think I've heard this before, haven't I? Or was you that actually said this? Oh yeah, yeah, okay. I remembered these snare thingies here. I like those a lot. Overall, the hats could be a bit crispier. Could have a little bit more energy in the 10k above area. Feels like a little bit of a dull track, I would say now. Because the hats is, in terms of the hierarchy of your sidetrance track, you have kick, bass, top drums, and everything else. Right, so the hats shouldn't be like, oh, excuse me, can I come through it? Can I be in this mix, please? Can I be here? The hat should be one of those elements that is like, oh, here I am, listen to me, I am important. Right, in the highest frequencies. Where the kick and bass is doing that in the low frequencies, where we take tremendous amount of time to make sure that the low frequencies are clean and that they have enough space for the kick and bass to sit in, and we high pass everything to make sure that there's no mess in there. We should be doing roughly the same thing, not to the same dramatic extent as with the kick and bass, but at least in the high frequencies you need to make a little bit of space for the hat. And then the second thing is the hat just needs to sit in that space, and it needs to hoard a little bit of that space for itself, because that is part of the sound. That strong high frequency is also part of the psytrance and to a certain extent dance music, because you hear it a lot in techno as well, to that sound, right? I don't like that this is immediately getting high past here. Not a fan of that, because it means that people start dancing in that drop, and then 4 bars later it immediately removes the low frequency again. Frog. I think I made the same comment last time when I heard the frog vocal. It's very interesting that that's the only vocal that is in there. I think some of the fills are a little bit too loud. This one is okay, but I thought that one of the other fills that I saw in the breakdown was taking up the same dynamic range as the kick and bass. Generally speaking, for those fills you can go a little bit down, because in the fill of your track you obviously want to indicate like, okay, here we're pausing for a little bit, and then the kick and bass comes back in and then it has its impact. So if you keep the same volume, doesn't really work like that. I hear some weird clicking here. Either the MIDI note is early and the modulation is like clicking over, or yeah, I don't know. There were a few modulations where there was like a strange click on there for some reason. Overall, cool track. I like the sound of it. I don't know why it's called Test Tune Helpers, but that seems very deliberate, because also the artwork says that. It feels like this track should have been called Frogs, because that's the only like vocal that is in there. I like the artwork though. There's a lot of thought that went into this artwork, so definitely there was something that there is something behind it. When it comes to what I was saying before about the track titles, if you have tracks, capitalize all of the words. So at the start of each word, the very first letter, capitalize everything. Because that looks a lot better presentation-wise. If I go through any reference track that you see over here, you can see everything is capitalized. That we do that in YouTube titles as well. If I go to my YouTube titles, you'll see that. It's not because it's not a phrase; it's marketing, right? So you want even the text that is standing out, I guess, or the text that is used to market your stuff. You want that to stand out. Can I show it like this? Oh yeah, this is just a suggestion thing. Yeah, this is the new AI suggestion from vidIQ. Comes up with terrible titles that don't work. Either way, you can see here I'm capitalizing old school. I want people to immediately see Goa, so Goa is all capitalized, right? Inspired ARPs, using is like a little bit of a filler word here. I want you to focus on Serum and Vital and the ARPs bit. Maybe you find that interesting. Maybe you find old school stuff interesting. So marketing wise, having everything capitalized like that is a great way to get people's attention more. And at the end of the day, that is, if you're uploading your music to streaming, that is one of the things that you want to do. You don't want your track title to be like the hat that you have in your music that is just like, oh, excuse me, can I please be here? Don't pay attention to me. It's okay. That your title is the same way that you mix your hat. It should be, your track title should be, look at me, I'm here, I'm there. Listen to me, listen to my music, please click on me, click on me. That is the goal, right? At the end of the day. Please say my name. I'm not gonna even attempt to pronounce that. I'm sorry. Anyway, right now we are at our last track, which is a new person that just joined. Orelski or Pentaxide with 145 F sharp. I like that. That's a BPM that is a little bit more my speed. I can play it in Discord. I should do that. There we go. Bro, I'm going to sample your words. You're absolutely permitted to sample anything that I say on this stream. I like the tone of that. I also like the look of that. Looks very clean. So this is resampled, very nice. Little bit of a slow track still. It sounded really big when that mid-range warm kind of ARP part of the sound came in. Even while it was opening up, the main focus was on the lower frequencies of that ARP. Or the mid-range frequencies of that ARP, whatever you want to say. And it feels like it was rising up to a point and now it kind of collapsed again a little bit. Sound design, there's some cool stuff happening over here, but I feel like Again, this track doesn't really have a lot of bite. And I think that's again due to the highest frequencies not being sharp enough. Mainly the open hat and the closed hat, they should probably be coming through this mix a little bit more. A little bit heavier. Is this Pentaxida? Yes. Overall, not much more to say. Like everything else seems to be on point here. I feel like the loudness is low. I can turn it up. I should have been turning this up a little bit. If it's mastered, this is like the loudness that it should be getting to. Right? It is already, waveform wise, it is already pretty flat, so we're getting in the ballpark of a master track here, actually. You shouldn't be doing too much work to master a track like this. Overall, cool track. It just kind of stops right now. Of course, this is, I think, still a work in progress. But it's sounding cool so far. I like it. It's before mix and mastering. Yeah. Then, I mean, you're just on the right track. Kick and bass sounds good. It is nice and clean, which is nice that you already have that in your production. The only other person that I know works that way, where they immediately resample and they don't wait until like the end of the production phase, is Subject Ultra. Right? Because I think on his stream I have seen it a couple of times where he immediately resamples his bassline. That being said, to be fair to Subject Ultra, he never gets to the end of a production, so he wouldn't resample otherwise. So it's nice to it's nice to see that he still gets to do that. Anyway, thank you so much. I appreciate that. You're welcome. We're currently out of tracks, so you guys, if you want, you can submit a little bit more. I am going to take a quick break here. As I said, it tends to get really warm in this studio, at least now. So I want to get this here again. If after the break there isn't more music, what I might end up doing is just producing a little bit more. Although I could also just end the stream then. Because as you guys probably can tell, this month I'm doing a lot in terms of content and I have plenty of stuff to edit. So yeah, I'll take a quick break. I'll see what the situation is if I come back, if there's more tracks. And if so, I'll listen to those tracks. And otherwise, I'll end the stream. Anyway, here again, I have the link to our label. So if you guys want to subscribe there, please do so. We can use all of the help that we can get. And this time when I get back, I'll try not to be muted. What track should I? I guess I'll just play my next TD here. See you guys in a bit.
It's time to understand that if you want to get something out of your life, you got to work for it.
life is no longer your own. When everything you know is wrong. Now, more than ever.
little bit of Mind B track over here as well. This is of course also up on Eclipse. For anybody that is wondering, that is one of the tracks from the compilation. Anyway, it doesn't seem like we have any new tracks here to submit or submitted. So I think I'm going to end it here. I do see that there's a question in here. Please explain why the synth make a big space in the middle and this makes the kick sound bad. Is this normal? I don't know what you mean there. Space is what we refer to as a psychological concept in mixing, where the human brain only is able to focus on so many different things at once when decoding the individual audio signal that they hear, right? So you can see this does not have a kick in it. This does not have a synth in it. This is just one file that exists, right? And this just tells the left speaker what to do and the right speaker what to do in terms of position. The speaker is reproducing this, but the speaker doesn't know that that's a kick drum. That is only in the human head. So the human head is decoding that information. The human head, the brain is what is responsible for knowing that this waveform is a kick drum, right? And we know that it's a kick drum as producers because we've seen so many kick drums and we know what a kick drum look like. But in reality, that kick drum isn't there actually in the music. The music is just the space going back and forth. Or the speaker going back and forth. So the space is how much room is available in a certain part of the track for you to put an element in. And making space usually means turning down other elements, removing frequencies from other elements, making elements wider in the stereo width so that the center has a lot more space. Like the stereo width is one way that you can create space, of course. There's actually 4 ways. There's time, which is if something is over here, then it isn't clashing with something that is over here. So you're making space by moving elements away from each other in time. And not placing them on top of each other. That is why you don't play 17 different synths at the same time, right? But you play them throughout the track. The second thing is the volume. So if some element is very loud and another element is very quiet, then the loud element has more, is given more space by the quiet element. Frequency-wise, if you have an element that only produces low frequencies, then you have space left in the high frequencies, and we're able to decode that difference. And then the final one is if something is completely mono, especially if you're wearing headphones, you'll hear it in the middle of your head. Whereas if something is very wide, it will sound like it's coming from here, right? It almost sounds like it's coming behind you, for example, or at least away from you, as opposed to actually inside of your head, inside of your skull, which is what mono sounds like to me, at least. So those are the 4 ways that you're creating space. When it comes to why the kick sounds worse when other elements are playing, is because the kick has less space, so you're less able to perceive the details of the kick drum. Anyone else have 5 kick and bass sessions from different tutorials from Projector and can decide which one is better? I've tried the no sub approach, the process wavetable, and so on. Still can't seem to get the sound I want. When it comes to my wavetable basis stuff and the stuff that I've been doing over the last half year, it hasn't necessarily been geared towards getting the best tone that you want. For me, what is important in a kick and bass is not so much the very detail of the bass line, right? But it's ease of use in writing. I'll worry about like the small details of the kick and bass later on in the mixing stage, but when I'm actually producing, all I need is something that I can load up quickly and that I can then start writing with. And one of the things that I tend to keep in mind is that people who are drugged out of their mind on acid listening to a system where even if you move your head back and forth slightly, the kick and bass is going to sound completely different. Like if you're on try on a festival, just stand still when dancing and just do this, moving left to right. You'll hear the lower mids and the low frequencies just changing and canceling out in certain ways. There's no way that it's possible to mix a kick and bass with such great detail that everybody is going to perceive that bass line the way that you intended it to be. So for me, all that matters is that the bass line works from a technical standpoint, and I've been able to achieve that through wavetable basses. And yeah, that might not be the exact tonality that I was going for in my bass line, but as long as it works from just the technical perspective, right? Like the sub is nice and compartmentalized, the transients all have the punch that they need to have, that kind of stuff. If all of that works, then I'm not really caring about the minor details of a bass line. So the tutorial stuff that I've been putting out is kind of in that same vein, in that it's not really meant to be the best possible sounding bass line, because I've realized that doesn't really matter anyway. Everybody's going to perceive your bass line differently just because they're positioned in different parts of the dance floor when they're listening to it on like a festival system, right? So that is, I guess, the main reason why why my tutorials might not sometimes feel like they're going for the best possible bass sound. They're going for the best possible workflow from a producer standpoint, and I've kind of given up trying to get the best possible quality bass line and whatnot. It is more important that I just get my music out there, and spending another 3-4 hours on the bass line is never really going to improve that. Doesn't mean that I try, by the way. I do spend time on my bass line. I've always said that I don't like spending 2 hours on the kick and bass at the beginning of the production and then only then really starting to write the track, which is what a lot of producers do. They open a project, they spend like 2-3 hours working on a kick and bass, and they're like, oh man, this kick and bass it's just not coming together. It's not what I want, and then they delete the project again. My philosophy is I want to worry about those details when I have all of the context ready to do that. So that means that for my kick and bass and stuff, I worry about those details when we're in this stage where the production is basically finished. This is a good example because this track I still have to do the final checks on the kick and bass that I want to do for it. But everything is finished. This whole track I could push this to mixing, and I could even probably get those details fixed in the mixing stage. I tend to do them in the production stage because it's a little bit easier to get like at least close and then finalize it in the mix, as opposed to doing everything in the mix. Because for those that don't know, I export all of my individual sounds and then open them up in Reaper, meaning that something like going into the patch is not possible. Going into the processing that is already on this bassline isn't really possible. I cannot change the EQ, for example, that is on there. I can only EQ the bassline again and try to rectify whatever problem that is already in there. So for me, I do spend it. I always say it like, don't spend 2 hours on your kick and bass. I do that for every production. It's just not in the points where all other producers seemingly do that. Thanks again. Thanks once again for your time, Projector. Have a nice evening, everyone. Thank you. It's easy to get into a rabbit hole. Exactly. That is the problem. It's easy to sit there, not get any actual production done because you're just worried about the two elements that you can only really judge in the context of the track. Because as somebody said before, where they have a kick and bass and they put a synth on it and the kick is going to sound differently. Yeah, right, because the other element is playing with that, right? And you can only really see what the kick and bass needs to sound like if you have that full context. It's all one of the things that I tend to do probably less than other producers is also soloing my kick and bass. I, for example, don't have in my standard template, if I go into templates, the last one over here. If I go into my template, what you'll see is that I have drums. So this will be the track where my kick will be, and this will be basses, and this is where my bass will be. I don't have a kick and bass group. Every psytrance producer that I know has a group called kick and bass, where just the kick and the bass is going through, and there they seem to do processing and whatever. I've never felt the need to do that. I've never had a reason to process my kick and bass together. In fact, I like to think of them as separate elements with separate functions. The kick is the thing that you dance to, and the groove is determined how, and the bass is determining the groove, which is how you dance to that kick drum. So they're two different elements with two different functionalities for me. And one of the consequences for that is that I cannot just, while I'm producing, go here and sit and just click a button and solo the kick and bass, right? Which is what a lot of other producers do, meaning that with one click, they're able to start making judgments on just the kick and bass. For me, in a full production, I usually need to scroll between my kick and bass because there's lots of other like channels in between, right? It will look something like this. I won't have all of the channels open, but say that I have a few open. My kick will be here, kick, and then my bass will be here. So I would need to go here, hold control, and then click the solo over here to listen to my kick and bass solo, meaning that it's a little bit less of an impulse decision to just start looking at or just start listening to the kick and bass. Again, it is sometimes something that I do, of course, right? I'm not completely against it or whatever, or it's not like I never feel the need to solo the kick and bass, but I'm not sitting here and just clicking the button and doing it. I would need to have a reason to do that, and then I would go into it. So yeah. Well, thanks everybody for coming. A little bit of a, I guess not too much of a shorter stream at the end. But I hope you guys enjoyed anyway. And I'll see you guys again next week. Again, for the September, I'm probably not going to stream whatsoever because of all of the other work that I'm doing. I need to start worrying about conversations with Projector again, where the last video in that series is going to come out tomorrow. So I need to edit new ones for that. And of course I need to edit videos for Sound Design September. I need to edit shorts, all of that good stuff. So lots of work to do. So probably no streaming during the week. Anyway, see you guys again. Bye bye.